Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, a deep dive with some really great analysis, matchups to watch between the Niners and the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. But first, speaking of that game, we're back, running it back for another watch party right here on the program on Sunday. And we're going to do another 2-hour pregame show. We'll be live for a portion of the AFC Championship game. We're going to lay the foundation, do a little preview for Niners-Lions, and our live coverage gets underway 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Do not miss it. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you will be notified. Super Chat giveaways. We'll be taking down some drinks. The best place to experience the game outside of being at the actual game. And then once the game gets underway, real-time analysis and some electric play-by-play. To our matchups to watch between the Lions and the Niners. Let's start off at the quarterback position. Brock Purdy against Jared Goff. And who would have thought that in the Final Four, it would be Brock Purdy against Jared Goff, and the numbers for these two quarterbacks would be among some of the top performances that we saw in the 2023 season. Jared Goff this year throwing for more than 4,500 yards, second in the NFL, his 30 passing touchdowns, fourth in the NFL. And right on par with him, Brock Purdy. 4,200 plus passing yards. That was fifth in the National Football League. 31 passing touchdowns, just ahead of Jared Goff, coming in at number 3. And when I scout Jared Goff, this is what I've seen this year, but I also want to pair what he did in 2023 with what he did on the back half of last year, because he was really good after the midway point as the Lions started to find a groove, and they won a lot of games down the stretch, nearly making it into the playoffs. And that's why going into the offseason, going into this year, I really like Detroit to win the NFC North for the first time since 1991, because last year I saw they were well coached. They have a couple of really good coordinators and position coaches, but some talent on that football team. And Jared Goff has been better than anybody anticipated him being from when he got traded from the Rams to the Detroit Lions. So over the last year and a half, Jared Goff has been a fringe top 10 quarterback in this league. And he's been elevated by a great offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson, who's basically going to be able to sign a blank check to become a head coach for whichever organization he wants to go to. He's going to be able to pick his spot. He could link up with Adam Peters, former Niners assistant general manager, and the Washington Commanders, or again, he's going to have his selection for where he wants to go. His creativity, his play designs, combined with Goff's play, but also a loaded offense at running back, wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line has been the perfect storm for this Lions offense to be the number 5 overall offense in the National Football League this year. And with Goff, he throws what I like to call a pillow ball. It's a soft football where he throws with touch and accuracy. It's not like a Josh Allen bazooka or a Lamar Jackson rifle. He just kind of layers balls in there, and they're easy to catch for his targets. And that touch allows him to be really accurate targeting the middle area of the field and from the numbers in, kind of like Brock Purdy. The thing with Jared Goff, which could allow San Francisco to have the edge on Detroit, he's not mobile. And we know that the Niners really struggle with mobile quarterbacks. If they can get a pass rush on Jared Goff, he's prone to making mistakes, but he's always confined to the pocket, and he's not going to burn you with getting out to the perimeter and making plays out of structure. So my keys for this Niners defense to limit and stop Goff in the NFC title game, get an interior pass rush. Jonah Jackson, their left guard, most likely out. He gave up no pressures in 25 pass rush snaps last week against the Buccaneers. His replacement gave up 7 pressures. So immediately there was a drop-off there. Then their all-pro center, Frank Ragnow, is most likely going to play, but he's dealing with a sprained knee and a sprained ankle. So if you get that interior pass rush right up the middle on Jared Goff, he can make mistakes, and he's not going to be able to operate and maneuver inside the pocket, step up, and it also takes away the middle area of the field. It clouds his vision with that muddy pocket. And if you move Jared Goff off his spot, he's not a tremendous athlete where he can drop his arm down to multiple different arm angles like a Jordan Love can, and he's not really going to get out to the edge and make crazy throws on the run, and he's not going to burn you with his legs. So he can carve you with the clean pocket. But if you're right in his face and he feels as though he doesn't have a stable base on his lower half, Jared Goff can get a little inaccurate, and he can throw some wobblers, and you can pick him off. And then you look at his advanced metrics here. This is what I'm talking about. When Jared Goff is pressured, he has a completion percentage of 53.1%. That's 20th in the NFL. But his clean pocket completion percentage is 70.5. It's number 6 in the NFL. So from 6 to 20, from having a muddy pocket to a clean pocket, his deep ball completion percentage, pretty damn good. Number 6 in the NFL. Brock Purdy, number 1. And his true completion percentage, 74%. That's 5th in the NFL. What I also want to take a look at are his indoor-outdoor splits. Goff plays at Ford Field in Detroit, indoor stadium. And this year, in 11 games indoors, he's been much better compared to playing outdoors. 69% inside, almost 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's been sacked 15 times, has a great rating of 104. And then he goes outside. His completion percentage goes down about 5 points to 64.5%. His yards go down. His touchdown-interception ratio is 7-4. And for those of you saying, well, Chase, the sample size is cut in half. Well, how about if you double up those 6 games to 12 games, which nearly matches the 11 games indoors? That's still a touchdown-to-interception ratio of 14-8. Not great. And he's still been sacked 15 times in those 6 games. So if you double that up, he holds onto the football when he gets pressured, and that's the importance of getting home to Jared Goff, and then you see the rating go down from 104 to 87.9. It's going to be a homecoming for the former number 1 pick in Jared Goff. He went to Cal. He also went to Marin Catholic in Kentfield. So he's somewhat familiar with the weather conditions, but again, it's going to be a raucous environment at Levi Stadium. And then on the other side of this quarterback matchup, you take a look at what Brock Purdy's been able to do this year. To any of the haters who don't think that he's legit, you're a casual and you haven't watched games this year. How can you not be impressed with the figures that Purdy has put up this year in his 2nd season in the NFL and in his 1st year as a full-time starter in this league? Number 3 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in yards per attempt, number 1 in deep ball completion percentage, 4th in pressured completion percentage, red zone completion percentage is number 2. When the field gets condensed, he thrives. True passer rating, number 1. QBR, number 1. EPA, number 1. But his target separation for his receivers, 14th. So he's had to fit the ball in some tight windows, and he's still put up these numbers. He's still had success, and his deep ball catchable rate, 61.7%, number 1. Ryan Clark tried to tell me he didn't elevate his teammates. Well, the deep ball catchable rate and all these other numbers, they prove otherwise. With that, with this quarterback matchup, who has a better game on Sunday? Is it Jared Goff type JG? Is it Brock Purdy type BP? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, sound off with what you think. We always appreciate having your feedback down below because we know you're all smart football fans. Matchup to watch number 2. Let's go to the coordinators here. Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator, against Steve Wilks, the 49ers defensive coordinator. How Detroit stacks up on both sides of the ball. This offense, very, very good. And they've been pretty electric in 2 years with Ben Johnson calling plays. 5th in points per game, a tad under 27. 3rd in yards per game, 3rd in yards per play, 10th in 3rd down percentage, and then 2nd in red zone percentage, meaning when they get inside the 20, they're scoring a touchdown at about a 66% clip. Very, very good. But this Detroit defense can be had, and Kyle Shanahan has to coach better, and Brock Purdy has to play better than that pairing performed on Saturday against Green Bay. Detroit's defense, 23rd in points per game, giving up 23 an outing, 20th in yards per game surrendered, 27th in yards per play given up, 10th in 3rd down percentage, which is pretty good. But teams, when they get inside the red zone this year, are scoring a touchdown at nearly a 63% rate. That's 27th in the NFL. And going back to this Lions offense, this is why Jared Goff has been able to have a good year. You have the great play caller and play designer in Ben Johnson. You have Jared Goff, who's been feeling himself, feeling very confident. And then you have just a loaded team. Two-headed monster at running back in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Amon-Ra St. Brown, very good wide receiver who usually lines up in the slot, occasionally can be the X on the perimeter. Jamison Williams is your vertical threat. Khalif Raymond, a good backup wide receiver in this league. Josh Reynolds has height and length. He can go up and get it. Sam Laporta has had a great rookie year, and for the next 8 to 10 years, he's going to be one of the best tight ends in football. And they also have more depth at tight end. We talk about Jared Goff, him having a homecoming, going back to NorCal. Zach Ertz, homecoming for him, just signed with the Lions this week. If he gets elevated to the practice squad, he could play as their backup tight end, longtime veteran, 3-time Pro Bowler, and a former Super Bowl champion. I know I have voiced some concerns about this Niners defense. You have as well, and they do have some holes. But I think that during Saturday's game against Green Bay, the Niners kind of shot themselves in the foot, and they cost themselves. And if they can clean up some of these miscues that were pointed out by Kyle Posey of Niners Nation, who does a fantastic job of covering San Francisco with analysis and analytics, then I think the Niners can be okay. And you think about some of the miscues and self-inflicted wounds that happened during Saturday's game. First drive, Ambry Thomas committed a defensive pass interference on a 3rd and 6. Second drive, Tashawn Gibson got flagged for defensive pass interference on a 2nd and 10, and Charvarius Ward slipped when guarding Romeo Doubs en route to a 38-yard completion. Third drive, there was a coverage bust on the first play. It left Jaden Reed wide open for a 27-yard gain. On the fourth drive, Ambry Thomas committed a 41-yard defensive pass interference penalty on 3rd and 15, where he ran into the wide receiver, didn't address the football in time, and then Tashawn Gibson slips on the next play. That's what gave up the 19-yard touchdown. Fifth drive starts at the 20 after a 73-yard return for Green Bay, so that was the special teams breakdown for the Niners. That's a worrisome unit. Sixth drive, nothing crazy happened, but Trey Greenlaw intercepted Jordan Love on a 3rd and 11. Seventh drive, 49ers played good defense. They forced a punt. Eighth drive, Aaron Jones made Logan Ryan miss when he over-pursued on a one-on-one, and then he scampered for 53 yards. And then the ninth drive, Trey Greenlaw sealed the game with an interception. So if San Francisco is able to clean up some of these head-scratching, self-inflicted wounds, penalties, mistakes, they are all avoidable. And if they can play better against Detroit than they did against Green Bay during some critical junctures of the football game, they can make it to Super Bowl 58. And then as part of this coordinator matchup, the head coaching matchup is something we're going to monitor as well. Kyle Shanahan is very conservative at moments, and I hate it. Dan Campbell, also known as Dan Gamble, can be a gambler. He can be very aggressive. And is Kyle Shanahan's conservative approach going to cost him, or is Dan Campbell's overly aggressive approach going to cost him? Kyle being conservative could allow the Niners to win. Campbell being overly aggressive could lead to a Lions win. Remember that when you're watching this game on Sunday, because these are two different coaches on two different sides of the spectrum. Predict the score between the Lions and the Niners. I do think San Francisco wins this game. I think it's going to be 35-30, somewhere in that realm, and it's going to be an offensive shootout. Today's 49ers Report, by the way, is sponsored by Game Time. If you're looking for last-minute tickets to the NFC Championship game at Levi's Stadium, wait it out a little bit. Because with the Game Time app, prices drop as the event gets closer, and you're guaranteed to get the lowest price at the last possible moment. There are still tickets available for Niners-Lions on Sunday for the right to play in the big game. And with Game Time, it's not just NFL tickets that you can find. You can find NBA tickets, Major League Baseball, college football, NHL, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, anything that you need, Game Time can get you hooked up. Couple of deals we want to tell you about. You can get $20 off using the code NinersChat, or if the Niners advance and you want to go to the big game in Las Vegas, you can get $100 off. And this is for any user if you use the code Big Game, or you use the code Vegas100 for the big game. That's code Vegas100 to go to the big game in Las Vegas. Hopefully the Niners are there, and I'll be there covering the football team. And hopefully we're going to be able to do that because our coverage will be absolutely fantastic. Game Time app, you can see where you'll be sitting, the price point for those seats. All of that information available for you down in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. Matchup to watch number 3. Let's go to an unheralded member of this Niners secondary. A player who the real ones know is very, very good. It's Deommodore Lenoir, who's going to be matched up a lot with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a very, very good wide receiver. And Deommodore Lenoir, over the last couple of years, has had the opportunity to get a lot of reps in the playoffs, and he has taken advantage of those opportunities. Demo has allowed just a 19.6 passer rating when targeted in the playoffs throughout his entire career. And how about the hit that he put on Jordan Love when Jordan Love was clearly still in bounds? And how about the performance for Demo against Green Bay? 8 yards allowed on 4 targets, a passer rating given up of just 56.3 when he was targeted, 0 touchdowns allowed, and a Pro Football Focus coverage grade of 78.8. He will have his hands full with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And both of these players, similar in height and stature, but Amon-Ra St. Brown over the last couple of years has turned into a very good wide receiver in this league. And in 2023, probably his best season up to date. 119 catches, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, a long of 70. Ben Johnson does a great job of putting him in positions to succeed. Perimeter wide receiver in the slot, used as a motion man, and Demo's going to be following him throughout much of the game. Matchup number 4, Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 pick in the draft 2 years ago, edge rusher for Detroit, against Colton McKivitz, the right tackle. The Detroit Lions have watched a lot of film already. They know that the weakness along this Niners offensive line lies at right tackle. And Aiden Hutchinson is going to be lined up a lot against Colton McKivitz. This year in year 2, a year after having 10.5 sacks, Hutchinson was once again very, very good. And the Michigan native who went to Michigan has had an opportunity to see this Lions team turn it around, and the place was raucous as Detroit able to punch their ticket to the NFC title game for the first time since 1991. Hutchinson in year 2, 11.5 sacks, 33 quarterback hits, 67 hurries, and my goodness, 101 pressures. He is one of the best edge rushers in the game, and he has been early in his career, making good on him being that number 2 pick. And Colton McKivitz, how many times this year have we seen him get driven back and pushed back right into Brock Purdy's lap? That can lead to errant throws. That can lead to dead ducks. That can lead to wobblers. That can lead to overthrows across the middle area of the field, which can result in turnovers. And we know that San Francisco, 10-0 this year when they don't turn the football over. So Colton McKivitz, another big game going up against another really good edge rusher in Aiden Hutchinson. Sticking with edge rusher against right tackle, Nick Bosa against Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell is a player who the Lions drafted early a few years ago out of Oregon. And in order for a team to really get back to a winning formula, you have to hit on some of these early picks. Detroit's been able to do that really in all rounds. But when you take advantage of the premium picks, like the Lions have done with Sewell, like they did with Hutchinson, like the Niners did with Nick Bosa and a couple of other players, it puts you back in contention because these are building blocks for your team. And in order for San Francisco to win this game, Nick Bosa is going to have to be the dominant player that he has shown the ability to be. And the Niners defensive line is going to have to ball out in this game against a very good Detroit offensive line that is a little bit banged up. Bosa this year, the number's a little bit down. He had 18.5 sacks a year ago, and he won Defensive Player of the Year. This year, still had 95 pressures and 60 hurries, but the sack number's down a little bit to 10.5. He had 35 quarterback hits as well. But he's going to be going up against one of the best, if not the best, right tackle in the game, and Penei Sewell, and this is going to be a star-studded matchup. For football nerds out there, sometimes I take great joy in not watching the football. Now, during the watch parties, I do have to watch the football because I'm doing play-by-play, but do yourselves a favor. Watch Nick Bosa and his raw ability against the athleticism of Sewell. It is a joy to watch two greats, iron sharpening iron, go up against one another, perfecting their crafts. Sewell here in 2023, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 90.7. That's even higher than Trent Williams. A pass blocking grade of 78.1, run blocking grade of 93.1. This has come on 674 pass blocking snaps. He's only given up 1 sack, so providing really good protection for Jared Goff. Hits allowed only 5, pressures allowed just 20, and 7 penalties. In order for the Niners to win, and we go back to the importance earlier on the show of me talking about how Jared Goff simply is not the same quarterback when he's under siege because he starts to second-guess things. He holds on to the football. He double clutches. The accuracy takes a dip when he's pressured, when he's getting hit, when he's getting sacked. The Niners need Nick Bosa to be Defensive Player of the Year Nick Bosa in this football game. You're paying a lot of big money to Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave. You traded for Chase Young. This is when you earn your money. And if the Niners earn their money up front, they're going to advance to the Super Bowl. Those are my key matchups. What are your key matchups to watch for in Sunday's NFC Championship game? Tilt. We want to hear from the faithful as always. Thanks for watching the show, and don't forget to subscribe.